Who are the best wide receivers in the last 10 years? Mike Evans, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, here we go! Yeah, here we go!
But what about number 13? I remember he was amazing. You know, the guy with the great one-handed catch? Yeah, him. What's his name? Oh, that's right, Odell Beckham Jr., also called OBJ. OBJ started his NFL career on fire. He gained at least 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns for each of his first 3 NFL seasons. His 4th season in 2017 was cut short by injury, and he only played in 4 games. He rebounded well. In both 2018 and 2019, OBJ had over 1,000 receiving yards again. But since then, he's mostly been silent on the football field. Where did he go? OBJ is still around. He even won a Super Bowl as a member of the Los Angeles Rams and scored the game's first touchdown on a 17-yard reception against the Cincinnati Bengals. But he went down with a torn ACL in the second quarter of that game, and he hasn't been the same player since. Let's look at the career of this once bright star. Beckham went to LSU and finished second on the team in receptions and yards during his freshman year. He was named to the SEC All-Freshman team at the end of the season. He continued to improve during his sophomore year and teamed up with Jarvis Landry to make one of the best wide receiver duos in college football. That year, OBJ led the Tigers in receiving yards, while Landry led the team in catches. A few years later, Landry and OBJ would reunite in Cleveland and be teammates. Beckham was also a good punt returner and scored 2 touchdowns on returns his sophomore year. OBJ's breakout season was his junior year. He had over 1,100 yards receiving and scored 8 touchdowns. He was also chosen as first-team All-SEC and as a first-team All-American. With good size and a 40-yard time of 4.4 seconds, Beckham was ready for the NFL. So OBJ skipped his senior year at LSU to go pro. He was selected as the number 12 pick in the first round of the 2014 NFL Draft by the New York Giants. He signed a 4-year, $10.4 million contract, but his career began with a slow start. A hamstring injury held him out of training camp, preseason, and the first 4 games of the year. But OBJ showed up to play for his NFL debut. Against the Atlanta Falcons, he had 4 catches for 44 yards and a touchdown. As his rookie year progressed, Beckham continued racking up receiving yards and touchdowns. His best performance came against the Giants' biggest rival, the Dallas Cowboys. OBJ caught 10 passes for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns, including this famous one-handed catch, which was called the Catch of the Year. NFL receivers have made one-handed catches for decades, but this one was impressive because Beckham was interfered with and he was falling backwards. It was also on the sideline and he managed to stay inbounds, then fell into the end zone for the touchdown. The catch was so great that the Pro Football Hall of Fame took the jersey that Beckham wore and put it on display. OBJ broke a record for the most consecutive games with at least 90 yards of receiving that November. His streak extended into December, and he became only the second player in NFL history to have over 700 yards in 6 games. Most receivers don't gain 700 yards in 17 games. In the season finale against the Philadelphia Eagles, Beckham set a Giants rookie record with 180 receiving yards. He broke tight end Mark Bavaro's record of 176 yards set in 1985. OBJ finished his rookie year with 1,305 yards and 12 touchdowns in only 12 games. He finished the season in the top 10 for receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. He earned a Pro Bowl selection and the NFL's Offensive Rookie of the Year award. That season, Beckham was the youngest player to be on the cover of Madden, beating out Rob Gronkowski for the honor. Sometimes in the NFL, rookies who perform well have trouble repeating their success in their second season, but there was no sophomore slump for Beckham. He continued to shine as one of the best receivers in the league. He completed another great season, finishing in the top 5 for receiving yards and receiving touchdowns, and Beckham had the 8th most receptions in the NFL. He was voted as a second-team All-Pro and earned another trip to the Pro Bowl. Going into the 2016 season, everyone thought that OBJ was on his way to greatness. He finished 3rd in the NFL for receptions and receiving yards, and he was 5th in receiving touchdowns. He also earned his 3rd consecutive Pro Bowl. But the 2017 season wasn't kind to Beckham. A broken ankle against the Los Angeles Chargers in Week 5 put him out for the season. 2018 started well, and OBJ was on track with 1,000 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. He was back to being one of the top receivers in the NFL. But during the offseason, the Giants decided to trade their star receiver. OBJ was going to the Cleveland Browns. The 2019 season was good for Beckham. He added another 1,000 yards receiving and 4 more touchdowns to his career totals, including this 89-yarder against the New York Jets. The 2020 season started well. Beckham had great games against the Bengals and the Cowboys. Did you see who threw him that TD pass? Yeah, it was his LSU teammate Jarvis Landry. But in the Browns' second game against Cincinnati, OBJ left with a knee injury. The next day, it was reported that he had a torn ACL. This is a nightmare injury for a star receiver. Receivers need to cut hard to get open, and they need to juke the defenders after the catch. Would he still be able to play after he healed? Players usually take about a year to recover from ACL injuries. Beckham's rehab and recovery was ahead of schedule, so he played early in the 2021 season for Cleveland. He wasn't quite the same player, and his father was being critical of the way OBJ was being used in the Browns' offense and publicly criticized the team. By November, the Browns had had enough of OBJ's drama, so they released him. The LA Rams signed him on November 11th, and Beckham played in 8 games. He had over 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. Beckham also chose a new number in LA. He ditched his number 13 and took his old LSU number 3. This Rams team was very good, and OBJ enjoyed his first career playoff touchdown and playoff win when they beat the Arizona Cardinals in the wild card round. And the Rams kept winning. They beat their divisional rival San Francisco to go to the Super Bowl against Cincinnati. We already told you about that. OBJ scored the game's first touchdown, but then he suffered another ACL injury. He would miss the entire 2022 season. Would any team sign a 30-year-old receiver with 2 ACL injuries? The Baltimore Ravens took a chance that OBJ could be his old self, and they signed him to a 1-year deal for the 2023 season. He wore number 3 and played in 14 games, where he had over 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. Beckham played in both of the Ravens' playoff games, but was a non-factor. He also totaled 34 yards and no touchdowns for both games. During the offseason, Baltimore released OBJ, and after 2 months, he signed with the Miami Dolphins. This will probably be the last team for Beckham because he is 31 years old and has bad knees. OBJ is in a good situation in Miami. He will be teamed with receivers Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. With Hill getting the defense's attention, Beckham can probably have a nice season and make significant plays. Most teams will play their safeties deep to defend against Hill and Waddle from going long. This will create lots of space between the linebackers and safeties for OBJ to operate. OBJ is a wizard catching the ball on the sidelines. His hands are great, and if he can still leap and maintain body control, then he should be fine. What do you think? Can OBJ be productive for the Dolphins, or is he finished as an NFL player? Leave us a comment and let us know what you think. Like Football Fix videos? Smash that like button and subscribe for more NFL content. We'll see you next time.